Fermin Lopez is outperforming all your fave playmakers, meanwhile Mateta goes boom on his Crystal Palace career, and Chelsea are considering signing a player over the age of 20? This is D-Mac Daily. This guy is a serious problem because he's not just having a breakout season for Barcelona. No. Fermin is low-key unstoppable at this point. Double digits in goals and assists for the campaign. 20 in 24 games for an attacking midfielder. That's simply world-class output. I mean, he's comfortably ahead of every other midfielder on the planet right now. But these stats don't fully paint the picture of just how ruthless he actually is, as he's only played a little over 1,500 minutes in total this season. So that's a ridiculous 1.19 goal involvements per 90. Comfortably more than any other Barca player. In fact, there's only 3 players ahead of him in that department worldwide. In forwards, Kane, Mbappe, and Elise. So yeah, Fermin is a different kind of machine right now. Yet what makes his rise all the more compelling is the context behind it. Because 12 months ago, Fermin was a useful squad player. A hard-working, high-intensity option who could cover multiple roles across the pitch and was particularly handy coming off the bench in the latter stages of a match. It's for that very reason that Chelsea then pushed hard for the Spaniard last summer as a potential backup option to star attacking midfielder Cole Palmer. Hansi Flick was unsure about his future at the time, but Fermin rejected the approach, and needless to say, Barca have benefited tremendously. So what makes Fermin so good? I mean, respectfully, he isn't the most technically gracious La Masia graduate. Think of your Xavis, your Iniestas, your Busquets, or even the club's modern-day maestros of Pedri and De Jong. It's that technical wizardry that makes them so dominant, so suited to Barca's DNA. Fermin, on the other hand, well, his greatest weapon is in his movement. Those late runs into the box with an instinctive sense of where second balls will fall. In a Barcelona side often built around control, he turns possession into end product, yet also has this unmatched positional work rate. He may not possess that innate creativity of your typical elite playmaker, but the modern day game has evolved to such a degree that physicality is now more important than ever. Additionally, I have no idea where Fermin's ceiling is, as this is only his first year we've actually seen him play consistently, and he's been ridiculously good. Moving to English football, and spare a thought for Crystal Palace and their fan base, because January has been an absolute shambles. It all started with that humiliation, getting knocked out of the FA Cup by 6th tier side Macclesfield, arguably the biggest upset in the competition's 155-year history. A week later, and their captain Mark Guehi departed for Man City, leaving a massive void in the heart of defense. Immediately after, their iconic manager Oliver Glasner announced he would be leaving the club at the season's end, a devastating blow exactly 8 months after famously winning their first ever FA Cup. 24 hours later, he then delivered a scathing criticism of the club's ownership for selling both Eze and then Guehi one day before a match, saying, "We are being abandoned completely." Surprisingly, he has since remained in the job short term, but adding further insult to injury, their forward talisman Jean-Philippe Mateta has since informed Palace he wants to leave immediately. There are several reasons behind the Frenchman's discontent, citing frustration that the club no longer matches his ambition and has failed to honour promises over recruitment and a new contract. According to The Times, Juventus recently made a bid offering a £1.7 million loan fee and a 24 mil obligation if they qualify for Europe. But Palace rejected it, valuing Mateta at £35 million. At the same time, David Ornstein is reporting that Aston Villa are keen on the forward, with Alex Cassant possibly headed in the opposite direction. Not exactly a lucrative proposition for Palace fans. I really do empathise with this club's fan base because they are getting ripped apart like no other. I'm sure they understand where they sit in football's hierarchy. When Palace signs a gem of a footballer, their departure feels inevitable at some point. But losing so much so quickly is a cruel form of punishment. Don't get me wrong, Palace will almost certainly rebuild, new heroes will rise, but that twilight moment they had just 8 months ago feels well and truly over now. A little bit similar to Leicester's emphatic rise in many ways. That underdog triumph made for spectacular theatre, sure, but it was never meant to actually last, because in modern football, amongst the game's ultra-rich, joy is ultimately borrowed. Speaking of the ultra-rich, Chelsea soccer franchise are back at it with another interesting transfer pursuit. A couple days ago, news broke that Chelsea were in talks with Stade Rennais over a deal for 20-year-old central defender Jeremy Jacquet. Now, this pursuit was met largely with frustration from the Chelsea fanbase, the consensus being that the club's hierarchy were just once again going after the latest wonder kid for an exorbitant fee, as opposed to bringing in a more experienced and prem-proven player, someone that would immediately enhance the squad. So I guess technically they've taken that criticism on board, because it's now being reported that Chelsea are weighing up a loan move for Douglas Luiz. Immediately, the first thing that jumps out here is the age. Luiz is 27, so not the typical Blueco age profile, but there is a bit of a question mark as to why, considering this is a player who underdelivered at a big European club like Juventus and is now struggling for game time at a relegation battling Nottingham Forest side. At surface level, it doesn't scream a brilliant addition, but nuance is required when assessing Luiz overall. Firstly, the midfielder has struggled with injuries, 6 separate issues in the last 15 months, which is perhaps why he hasn't featured all that much for Forest. There's also a conditional 30 mil fee that could be triggered by Forest if he plays a certain amount of games. That factor definitely weighs up. From Chelsea's perspective, a loan makes sense on paper. Rosenior wants an additional 6-6 profile in midfield. Granted, the Blues do already possess Casemiro, Fernandes, Santos, Lavia, and Asugo. That's a lot of bodies, but the latter two have consistently struggled to stay healthy. Reece James has proven to be a tremendous option in midfield too. Gusto has also deputized there previously, but ultimately they want to bring in another player. Now, for my personal thoughts, I'm not massively against this loan. I get the optics don't look good. This is a guy who was poor at a bang average Juve, then at a struggling Forest, but he was previously a top player at Villa and Brazil. Lavia and Asugo are a myth at this point, so I can understand the logic of bringing him in. Would this transform Chelsea in any capacity? Most likely not, but for a 4th or maybe 5th choice option, I don't think it's the worst move. But that's just my take overall. Let me know yours below. Speaking of Brazilian midfielders, and Casemiro is set to depart Manchester United at this season's end. The former Real Madrid star joined the club back in 2022 in a deal worth at least £60 million and became one of the club's highest earners, receiving £18 million per year. Casemiro has since made 146 appearances for United and has remained a consistent presence this season under Ruben Amorim, Darren Fletcher, and now Michael Carrick. It must be stated that his Manchester United career has been plagued by criticism at times. His body has definitely slowed down a little over the years. I mean, this deal has ended up costing just shy of £120 million in total, but in saying that, there have also been a lot of positive moments too. He was outstanding in his first season at the club. He also helped United win the Carabao Cup, followed by the FA Cup, and even at 33 years of age, recently delivered a man-of-the-match display in the Manchester derby. It'll be very interesting to see who inevitably replaces him. Is it Anderson, Baleba, Wharton? Who knows? In other transfer news, and Noah Lang is headed to Galatasaray on loan for €2 million with a 30 mil option to buy. A fellow Napoli forward and recent signing Lorenzo Luca is also departing, joining Premier League side Nottingham Forest in a €1 million loan with a 40 mil option to buy. I cannot wait to see this man in the Premier League. One of the most unique strikers out there, standing 6'7" tall, seems tailor-made for prime Dyche ball. Napoli have since moved quick to secure their striker replacement though, bringing in Hellas Verona forward Giovanni for €20 million. Elsewhere, Harry Amas is swapping clubs mid-season, ditching Sheffield Wednesday to join Norwich on loan for the remainder of the season, whilst fellow United Academy graduate Toby Collier is swapping West Brom for Hull City. Meanwhile, Chelsea have landed 17-year-old Wissa Allow from Sheffield Wednesday for £500,000. Bournemouth have secured their Semenyo replacement, signing 19-year-old wonder kid Ryan from Vasco da Gama for €35 million, one of Brazil's brightest young talents. They're also set to bring in another goalkeeper in Christos Mandas from Lazio in a loan with a €20 million option to buy clause. And finally, Spurs have signed Brazilian left-back Souza for €15 million from Santos. Anyways, guys, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you next week.